Good morning, Sunnyside. It's great being before you again. There are a few things that I found out that perhaps you do not know, so I'd like to share them with you. Okay, first of all, I'm going to tell you about some things from the NAACP. Okay, back August 26th, this really commemorates the anniversary of the 19th Amendment that granted women the right to vote. Some 104 years ago, after its certification, women not only have the right to vote, but to also run for office and even to run for president. Black women's contribution to the suffrage, voting, to the suffrage movement were often overlooked. They were in the forefront of the monument or of the movement to demand their place in the democratic process and face both gender as well as racial discrimination. Today, we honor any number of women, such as Ida B. Wells, Mary Church Terrell, Ellen Watkins, along with Fannie Mae Hamer, any number of women who just really made tremendous contributions on our behalf. Our work is far from over. We must remain vigilant and committed to protecting our right to vote. Their legacy reminds us that the struggle for equality is an ongoing one. Again, the right to vote and where we are today, my goodness. Continuing on, when I think in terms of the right to vote, if you've been paying attention to the news lately, you're really aware that there is a national election that's upcoming. And we have two main participants, okay? One is the former President of the United States, who also is a felon with any number of cases against him. And there also is the present Vice President of the United States, okay? Her name is Kamala Harris, okay? She happens not only to be a female, which is something, again, that had to be fought for, she's also a minority. She's also a Black woman. Pay attention to what's happening in the news, okay? I just want to encourage you to vote for the person who you feel has your best interest in mind, okay? So vote. The vote is your choice. How you decide to vote is really up to you. There are some things that are happening in the city, okay, of Los Angeles as well as Inglewood during the month of September. On Saturday, September the 7th, the City of Inglewood's Office of Emergency Services presents the 2024 Ready Inglewood Emergency Preparedness Expo from 10 until 2 p.m. at Rogers Park. Rogers Park is located at 400 West Beach Avenue. There you can learn some life-saving skills. You can gain valuable insights. You can visit emergency preparedness booths and explore any number of kid zone activities that are prepared for children as well as families. Okay, again, that is Saturday, really this Saturday, September the 7th. Note also, in case you did not know it, I didn't, there's the LA Law Library. And this September, throughout the month of September, they're going to be offering any number of free classes that you can attend to in Perfect, and you can also go on Zoom. The LA Law Library is located at 301 West 1st Street. Okay, and that's on the corner of Hill and 1st Street in LA. Some of the classes, okay, legal research on the internet, they'll tell you how to deal with that. You can ask a lawyer about civil cases, trial, pre-trial information as well. You can get information about small claims court, okay? Information about evictions. But again, just know that information is available for you at the LA Law Library throughout the month of September, okay? As I continue, actually, to my surprise, I think I might be getting ready to almost close out. On August 28th, 1963, that really marked the 61st anniversary of the historic March on Washington, where Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech, calling for an end to racism and the realization of equality and justice for all. There are some movies then that are out that really explain some of the things that were happening with this March on Washington. The name of one is Rustin, okay? I think it's Baynard Rustin. But Rustin, Selma, the movie Selma. When I first saw the movie Selma, it really kind of stunned me because Selma is in Alabama. I am originally from Birmingham, Alabama. And the movie Selma showed these 4 girls walking down these steps. And the thing that stunned me was the fact that I knew for sure that those girls were not from Selma. They were from Birmingham, okay? But Selma, that's another movie then that kind of deals with it. Another movie, Genius, MLK and X, okay? Geniuses, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You might want to check that out just to find out just a bit of our history. The movie Boycott, okay? And finally, there's a movie about John Lewis, Good Trouble, okay? John Lewis. And this information then comes from the NAACP. So you may want to consider becoming a volunteer for the NAACP. And one thing remains clear, that our vote is our power. It's up to each one of us to hold our elected officials accountable by showing up at the ballot box in record numbers. Now, I mentioned John Lewis, and I have some information that's written that I wrote about him, okay? That bridge that they were crossing in Selma, okay? The name of that bridge is the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And during our time, I guess within the last few years, based on those events that's really happening to us as a people, they are tearing down or they're renaming some things then that have been identified as Confederate strongholds. All right, and the Edmund Pettus Bridge is one then that was named after a Confederate brigadier general, okay? He was the state, okay, in Alabama, he was the state's leader of the KKK, all right? And do know that the Edmund Pettus Bridge covers the Alabama River. Now, John Lewis was a civil rights leader who believed in equality and protecting voting rights. The Senate blocked the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that would have protected the right to vote for all Americans. And just do realize then that a lot of the things then that were fought for back in the 60s and before then, they're still coming up now. They're still being questioned. John Lewis said, if you see something that is not right, that is not fair, that's not just, you have a moral obligation to do something about it. He also said, get into good trouble, okay? So this also marks the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday that occurred around the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Now, there was a proposal to rename the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, the John Lewis Bridge. Did you know that Lewis participated in the Freedom Rides? He was one of the Freedom Riders of 1961. Now, you may not know what the Freedom Riders were, but they were those students, generally students, that rode buses across interstate lines, challenging segregated facilities. Again, they really literally put their lives on the line by, again, just riding a bus. Lewis became the chairman of SNCC, SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, okay, when he was 23 years of age, okay? He also was one of the organizers and one of the youngest people to speak at the March on Washington back in 1963. He was arrested at least some 45 times at peaceful protests fighting for civil rights. Okay, John Lewis was something else. As a child, he worked on a farm, or he worked on farms, and he would read good news to the chickens, He pioneered the first piece of legislation in 1992 to address pollution in communities of color, the Environmental Justice Act. He tried to save the U.S. Postal Service from Trump's plan to sell it to the highest bidder, the Postal Reform Act of 2022. And again, it is still around. So just be aware that our history continues. Just do know that an election is coming up, and I certainly hope that you will have done your part. I do hope that you are a registered voter and that you will consider when you're voting, it's not just for you, but you're also voting for your family, for your relatives, for your friend, for your friends, for your culture, and again, your future, theirs as well. That's about all I can think of at this time. But again, just do know the importance of your vote, and go online and check and make sure then that your vote is that your vote is still valid, that it's still available to you. Praise God. I thank you.